Everyone, I was really shocked when I heard this news yesterday, because honestly, I never would have guessed that Israel would do something like this. Israel sent planes to Qatar to bomb Qatar, with the aim of killing the Hamas leadership. That is, the Hamas leadership, which is currently based in Qatar. But Qatar is a truly sovereign, independent country, and it has been specifically entrusted by the United States government to mediate these crucial peace talks. First of all, that country is helping you negotiate peace with Hamas, and it's doing so at the request of the United States. This country is an ally of the United States, and it's acting as a mediator. While you're negotiating peace with someone else, you send troops into the mediator's home, with the intention of killing the party you're supposed to be negotiating with. In reality, you don't want peace at all. If that's the case, then just don't negotiate. And this is a complete disregard for international law. Now Israel thinks it can do whatever it wants. At 4 p.m. local time on Tuesday, Israel launched an airstrike in Doha, the capital of Qatar. At least 6 people were killed in the airstrike. The targeted location was a residential area in the Qatar district of Doha. This is where the Hamas leadership is based. During the attack, there were sounds of explosions and thick smoke billowing out. Let's take a look at Qatar. Among Arab countries, Qatar is something of an outlier. How is it an outlier? It was once blockaded by Saudi Arabia because, well, its political stance is actually more left-leaning. That is to say, it tends to sympathize with groups like Hamas or the Palestinians, or even leftists from various places. Its overall stance is more left-leaning, and it also has its very own Al Jazeera news channel, which is quite influential. Actually, Qatar has a small population, 11,000 square kilometers here, in Doha, with 3 million people. It's about 10 times the size of Hong Kong. There are only 300,000 Qatari citizens, all of whom work in public service or as military and police. 88% to 90% of the population are foreigners, mainly from South Asia. The rest come from the Philippines and Africa. The population density is 236 people per square kilometer. The largest city, Doha, is home to 80% of the country's population. Over 2 million people in Doha. GDP $22.278 billion US dollars, per capita GDP $71,000 US dollars, mainly from liquefied natural gas. So if you offend Qatar, you're basically messing with Europe, and Europe will really be upset. If Europe doesn't buy natural gas from Russia, their only option is to buy it from Qatar. Qatar is the largest exporter of liquefied natural gas. Al Jazeera reported that when the attack happened, Hamas leaders were in a meeting discussing the latest ceasefire proposal brokered by Qatar and Egypt. So, we put together a ceasefire proposal and sent it over. While they were studying it and holding a meeting, the other side planned an attack during the meeting. Hamas confirmed that 5 of its members were killed in the attack, and a local security guard also died, with some members injured as well. However, the top leadership survived. They couldn't be killed. This is extremely difficult, and I'll explain it to everyone. Even with Israel's highly accurate missiles, sometimes your intelligence just can't pinpoint exactly which room the meeting is in. If you don't hit the right room, it's very hard to wipe out the other side completely. This is where things can go wrong. They already know a meeting is happening, but can they hit the exact location where it's taking place? Reuters quoted 2 sources saying that Hamas leader and chief negotiator Haya was one of the targets of the attack. He was not injured, but his son and assistant were killed in the attack, and all 3 of his bodyguards lost contact. This is obviously a problem. A Hamas source told Al Jazeera that everyone who was in Doha on the 9th discussing Donald Trump's ceasefire proposal. All the Hamas members involved in Donald Trump's ceasefire proposal managed to escape Israel's assassination attempt. However, according to Israeli media reports, the Israeli side believes that the target of the attack has already suffered serious damage. They said that many senior Hamas members were killed in the attack. There are reports quoting a senior Israeli official saying that the United States was informed of this plan in advance and that Donald Trump approved it. Actually, that's not the case. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said that Israel acted alone this time and that the United States is not responsible. Israel takes full responsibility for the operation. Let's now see precisely what Donald Trump actually said. Donald Trump explicitly stated that his administration was officially informed by both the United States Department of Defense and the military forces. Israel attacked Hamas, and the Hamas members were in Doha, the capital of Qatar. This decision was made by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. It has nothing to do with me. He made the distinction very clear. To unilaterally bomb Qatar, a sovereign nation and a close partner of the United States. And this is a country that is truly working incredibly hard, taking significant risks, to speak out for peace and global stability. Bombing them will certainly not advance the strategic goals of both Israel and the United States. Okay, but eliminating Hamas is indeed beneficial. Otherwise, the people living in Gaza will suffer even more. I called our envoy, Wickoff, to inform Qatar. As soon as he found out, he notified Qatar. The attack was imminent, he informed them, but it was already too late and couldn't be stopped. I see Qatar as a strong ally, a friend of the United States, and I feel terrible about the location of the attack. I hope that the hostages and the bodies of those who died can all be returned, and that the war will come to an end. I have personally spoken with Prime Minister Netanyahu. The Prime Minister himself told me that he, Netanyahu, genuinely wants to engage in discussions about achieving lasting peace. I think that despite this unfortunate event, I hope it can create an opportunity for peace. I also want to mention the Emir of Qatar and the conversations I've had with the Prime Minister. I thank them for their support and their friendship with our country. I assured them. This is very important, that such a thing will not happen again on this soil. The President of the United States has guaranteed that this will not happen again. This is a serious matter. Israel cannot attack again in the future, or it would be a slap in the face to Donald Trump. He then instructed Secretary of State Rubio to reach another defense agreement with Qatar. Everyone got that. White House spokesperson Levitt said that on the morning of that day, the U.S. military informed the White House that Israel would strike Hamas targets in Doha. President Qatar said that Qatar is a staunch ally of the United States, and he felt terrible about the location of this attack, which does nothing to advance the goals of Israel or the United States. After the attack, Donald Trump spoke separately with the Israeli Prime Minister and the Emir of Qatar to ensure that this would not happen again. Netanyahu promised Donald Trump that it would not happen again, according to Israel's Channel 12 television. The United States detected Israeli fighter jets flying east and asked Israel for an explanation. Israel informed the U.S. that it was preparing to launch an attack on Hamas leadership in Qatar. This information was regularly reported to Donald Trump. The timeline was as follows. The plan was set for September 9, 2025, at 3:46 p.m. The Israeli Air Force launched an airstrike on the lagoon area in West Bay, Doha, targeting the Hamas Political Bureau's office complex, using missiles to precisely strike the target buildings. This was the significant strike on the Hamas Political Bureau's main office complex, precisely carried out with 15 advanced fighter jets in a coordinated operation. They dropped 10 precision-guided missiles or bombs. Analysts believe Israel most likely used F-15s. They were paired with F-15s for escort, and F-22s were also escorted by F-35s, since the F-35 can carry a lot of missiles. After the F-35s and F-22s neutralized the enemy's radar, once they located the radar, the F-15s would strike. Missiles were launched from a distance, allowing for rapid withdrawal without entering Qatar's air defense zone. The Israeli aircraft did not enter. They launched the missiles from long range. Within Doha, the U.S. Central Command and Al Udeid Air Base are stationed, and the Patriot air defense system is deployed. However, experts point out that the F-35s, within Doha, there are Patriots deployed. But due to the F-35 stealth and missile capabilities, it has a high level of penetration ability. It was not detected early by radar, and the air defense system was unable to intercept it. The operation was codenamed Operation Summit of Fire by Israel. So, what does that mean? It means using F-35s to break through defenses, then F-15 is to drop bombs, with a total of 10 aircraft involved. The White House said that when Donald Trump received word from the U.S. military that Israel was about to carry out an attack, he immediately instructed Envoy Whitaker. Whitaker told Qatar that Israel was coming to bomb them, but Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister, Mohammed, said the attack happened at 3:46 a.m. local time. Qatar received the first call from the U.S. at 3:56 a.m., which was 10 minutes after the attack had already happened. So, the fact that Hamas members weren't killed had nothing to do with the U.S. notification. But the U.S. notification, who knows if it could have saved them? Maybe it saved some Hamas members, but he still had to try, because he really didn't agree with Israel attacking Qatar. The Qatari Ministry of Foreign Affairs issued a statement condemning Israel's cowardly attack, saying that this criminal act is a serious violation of international law. Qatar is a sovereign nation. You can't just attack it. And it poses a serious threat to the safety of Qatari citizens and residents. Qatar's security forces and civil defense units immediately took action to ensure the safety of nearby residents. Qatar will not tolerate Israel's reckless actions or its ongoing threats to the security of other regions, nor will it accept any actions that endanger Qatar's sovereignty and security. We cannot tolerate any threats to Qatar's sovereignty and security. According to Al Jazeera, in 2012, after the outbreak of the Syrian civil war, the leaders of Hamas left Syria more than a year later. They were originally based in Syria, but then moved to Qatar to set up a political office. Qatar has repeatedly stated that it hosted Hamas at the request of the United States. This really doesn't make any sense. Why would Donald Trump say something like that? Normally, even during war, you have to talk about peace. Hamas was sent out from Syria. Where else do you think they would go? The Hamas members who were abroad, the U.S. asked Qatar to take them in, and now you're attacking them. An article from the Qatari embassy in the U.S. said that America hopes this office can serve as a channel for indirect communication with Hamas. If we look around the world, Saudi Arabia condemns it, the UAE condemns it, Kuwait condemns it, and so do Bahrain and these other Middle Eastern countries. Unacceptable, Jordan says it endangers regional stability and calls for it to stop, expressing support for Qatar and urging the international community to hold those responsible accountable. Sudan says Israel is undermining peace. Lebanon criticizes the attacks. Iraq says it disrupts regional order and strongly condemns it. Turkey calls it state terrorism. Expansionism, violation of international law, support for Qatar, and then there's the EU. The EU is really hurting because their LNG comes from Qatar. They criticize the attack as a violation of international law. The French president says it's unacceptable, the German foreign minister says it's against international law, and the British prime minister says it's intolerable. The UN Secretary General says it's a clear violation of Qatar's sovereignty. The Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation issued a joint statement condemning it, as did the Gulf Cooperation Council. They strongly condemn it. China calls for respect for Qatar, Japan expresses concern, and South Korea is worried, even though it doesn't directly involve them. Russia strongly condemns it, India calls for restraint, Brazil condemns it, Canada expresses concern, and Australia condemns it as well. South Africa also strongly condemns the attack. Additionally, on September 9, 2025, the Israeli military issued a full city evacuation order. These two events are essentially the same, just two sides of the same coin. Israel just wants to sabotage the peace talks and then completely take control of the Gaza Strip. They want to control Gaza without caring about the people living there. Ideally, they drive them out, but they're not willing to take responsibility for their lives or maintaining order. They ordered 1 million Gaza City residents to evacuate to the southern humanitarian zone. This was to coordinate with the upcoming ground offensive. Although some residents wanted to evacuate, only 50,000 actually left because moving costs money. You need to prepare food. You need a vehicle. Many of them simply couldn't move. After relocating to the south, the so-called humanitarian zone is cramped, lacks facilities, and even there, they could still be attacked. The United Nations and non-governmental organizations say that forced relocation constitutes a war crime and a crime against humanity. The European Union says this is unsafe and lacks dignity. Israel has been systematically destroying high-rise buildings, bombing those towers. Gaza is on the brink of famine. The death toll keeps rising. Hundreds have starved to death, and the overall humanitarian crisis is worsening. Israel has ordered all the people in Gaza City and those in the north to move to the south. They were relocated to designated humanitarian zones in southern Gaza, in Khan Yunis and Rafah. This is Khan Yunis, and this is the Rafah area. These are the southernmost parts of Gaza, close to the Egyptian border. If necessary, they try to scare them, hoping they'll cross into Egypt. That's basically it. All right, that's all for now. I said that with the indulgence of the United States, even the U.S. can't control Israel, and attacking Qatar is completely unnecessary, to be honest. Killing these Hamas leaders won't put an end to the Hamas movement. It'll just be another group of people taking over. They've already killed many Hamas leaders. But actually, what Israel is doing is hoping that Qatar will stop mediating for them, to sabotage the peace talks, so that they can achieve their goal of fully occupying the entire Palestinian region.